You're good.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of the 2nd and 9 podcast. I'm here with my boys Tony D and the Flying Dutchman. Any opening words, Tony D?
No, I'm ready to go. Let's get into this.
It's January 31st. We got the Super Bowl on Sunday. Flying Dutchman. Anything you want to comment on the game? You want to talk about like Sean McVay's hair? You want to talk about?
Actually, I do actually have a comment about Sean McVay. Now that you bring it up,
Yeah.
Me and my wife had a long argument that I had to contact Tony D over the last weekend to see what he had to say about this.
I had a funny feeling.
My wife believes that Sean McVay. I was like, "Did you know Sean McVay's younger than me?" She goes, "No, that guy looks like he's 45." I go, "What? He looks like a hipster." And we went back and forth. I had to tap into Tony D and his wife to figure out if I was right or my wife was right. Clearly, Sean McVay looks like he's under 30, but, that's all.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
He's like 30 and under. That's all I'm saying. He doesn't look like he's 45.
No, he looks older than he is. What is he, like 32 or something?
Yes.
He looks older than that.
But if you had to say, if you were 100%. Surprised that he was 45 or 25, I guess he wouldn't be 25. But
I would be shocked if he were 25.
He's a baby. He's 32 years old.
He still looks like a little baby.
He looks like he's aged a little bit from the stresses of having those type of jobs.
I agree with that.
He doesn't look 32. That's my opinion.
Yeah. All right, but he doesn't look 45.
No slight at his appearance. I like how we're talking about, like, guys, look, last time it was Eli Manning, now it's Sean McVay. I shouldn't even have brought it up.
All right, that's my comment. Go.
All right, so we're going to talk a few different things today. We had the conference championship games over a week and a half ago now. We didn't do a podcast before then, but we're going to do a little recap on those games, feedback on where we think those teams won or lost the games. We'll obviously talk that blown call that happened during the Saints and Rams game. We're going to talk a little bit about Jerry Jones' comment that he made about Jason Garrett and his job status. Cowboys and Giants outlook during the offseason. Shout out overthecap.com. Tony D here found a cool resource that you can basically plug and play different scenarios for different players, and you can essentially look at all of what their salary is, how much it would cost the franchises if they wanted to cut a guy if he was still on contract, guys that are on free agent lists, potential opportunities for free agent signings for those two teams. So we're going to break that down a little bit. And then we've got the final segment, which will be our picks and just a little breakdown of the Super Bowl. We're each going to make a prediction of one player and the type of stats that we think that they're going to put up and who we think are going to be the Super Bowl MVP, which it's probably going to be a unanimous decision, I think. But stay tuned. Stay tuned to find out. Don't give it away yet, but probably pretty obvious. But first things first, a recap of the championship games. So we'll start with the Rams and Saints first. We had that blown call, but I mean, we didn't pick these games last week. But I'll let you start. For that game, who would you have picked, and what surprised you the most during the game?
Honestly, I probably would have went with the Saints. I thought they were a better team. I thought they had a better defense overall, and I'm surprised by the Rams' defense. Honestly, I really, really impressed with how good they played. Against the Cowboys as well. I thought the Cowboys would do a better job running the ball. We said that. I said that on our first podcast. Horrible predictions all the way through. So I mean, being that I would have picked the Saints, it makes perfect sense that the Rams won. So.
Yeah, I mean, I bet the Rams, but it was a tough call. Obviously, the shocking thing was, I mean, the Rams started off. I mean, the Saints started off pretty well in the game, but just the whole Gurley situation was kind of baffling because they didn't mention anything about the injury. It seemed like he was healthy going into the game, and I thought he would have had a pretty good game, but the way that it panned out, the Saints just, like when you're in these big games, you got to put teams away. And the way they let the Rams kind of hang around and just they shot themselves in the foot. So I think the people that are kind of hollering, playing Monday morning quarterback about the whole pass interference call, yeah, it was a big call and it could have swung the game. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they even had an opportunity in overtime and they didn't get it done. So you can only really complain so much about the call, but I'm sure Roger Goodell is going to be hearing it for the next 6 months.
I agree with you 100%. And I really don't make a huge distinction between a blown call in the first quarter and a blown call at the end of the game. I mean, granted, that literally they could have kneeled the clock and kicked the field goal, won the game. Granted, but you don't know what would happen. You don't know if he would have clanked it off the upright. We have no idea. We can't live in that parallel universe where the call was made. So to me, there's no difference. And if the Saints run the ball, it was 1:55 left, and they have 2 timeouts. Run the ball 3 times, and you give them the ball with under a minute. They can't throw it to the middle of the field. Everything's got to go to the sideline. Maybe they do get in field goal range, but maybe they miss a long field goal. Maybe they have to kick while the clock's running. There's a million other variables that could have went into it. I think the best chance to win is run the ball 3 times there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. We talked about that a little bit earlier, and I just I think at some point when you're in the playoffs, you got to trust your defense. I mean, you can't just win. You can't win a Super Bowl with obviously Drew Brees is a great Hall of Fame quarterback, but you can't put everything on his shoulders every play. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the only one you could really say that about is maybe Brady. Brady will carry the load, but also you have scenarios where we'll get into that game, but the whole neutral zone infraction, sometimes breaks will go your way. Unfortunately for the Saints, they had this happen this year with the no call, and then last year they had the Stephon Diggs situation. So, yeah, they can't really catch a break.
I mean, I'm not really gonna feel bad for him. I mean, the Dez catch. I mean, come on. We win the Super Bowl that year, clearly.
All right, Dutch, you got any additional comments? He can't resist with the Cowboys. It's really crazy.
I had to take that. I knew you were going to react how you react to that.
I mean, the big thing for me was I think you hit it on the head, Ray, as far as they let them hang around for way too long. I actually did. I went 1 for 1 with my picks because I'd picked the Rams, but I did pick the Chiefs. So I went 1 for 1 in the 2 games. But with the Rams, I really felt that I'm all about momentum as you lead up to the playoffs. And I felt that while the names were on the Rams defense, they actually were slowly getting better throughout the season. I feel like the offense of the Rams have been going the other direction. That's why everyone was hesitant. They weren't passing as much. Gurley wasn't running because he was hurt. I did feel that the Saints they blew it. They should have put him away, and that would have been the end of the game. But but at the end of the day, that pass interference call I do want to talk about. I don't know if you guys wanted to talk further about that play, but I mean, in real time, you're not always paying attention to the game when you're watching it. But when I was watching it, I was right on the spot. I was like, whoa, I saw it. I'm in live frame. I'm like, that was awful. The guy didn't even turn. Yeah. The guy didn't even turn, so he's not even looking at the ball. There was just there was every aspect about that was a foul. And then when they showed it on replay, it was such a long extension from when he hit him to when the ball got there that it's how do you not call this? And then the live reaction from the cornerback where he's looking around, waiting, looking which referee's going to throw the flag. And then he puts his hands up and he's like, yeah, I did it. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, the Saints should have put him away is bottom line.
Well, he admitted it afterwards. I know. He straight up said, he's like, yeah, that was on me. I got away with one. But I think the funniest thing was Sean Payton's reaction. I thought he was going to throw a hook at one of the refs because he started – you saw him screaming. They obviously can't air what he was saying on TV, but he was hot after that because I can't blame him. Like you said, he lit that guy up, and it wasn't even – it was one of those obvious calls. You're waiting for a late flag to at least come in, but it just didn't come. But the thing is, these refs, you got to have some awareness, though, too, because you can throw the flag and pick it up. Yeah, you can pick it up. I mean, you gotta be self-aware of those type of situations.
You throw a flag in New Orleans, and you try to pick it up. Think you're getting out of that stadium?
Did he get out of that stadium after what happened?
I don't know. But if he would have thrown a flag and picked it up, oof.
Yeah, but that's why you always have to lean to if it's 50-50, you got to lean towards the side where you can go and talk about it with other refs or review it.
Why can't you just review it within 2 minutes? Why can't they just
review
everything within 2
that's
minutes?
another
Well, do you think the league is rigged, fake? Do you believe in that? A lot of people say
I don't think it's rigged, but it's definitely there's biases and stuff. I'm sure that there's underground wagering going on with crazy money. I'm sure that's yeah. Well, I thought the funniest thing about the whole hit situation to me was, I don't know, did you guys notice at all during Sean Payton's interview afterwards? He was wearing the T-shirt from Barstool Sports that has the red clown nose on Roger Goodell's face.
They hate Roger.
Yeah, no, I mean, who really likes the guy? you could, I heard he makes like $40 million a year or something like that.
39.6 million or something. Yeah, it was something ridiculous. Yeah, I remember it was a weird number like that.
I didn't realize it had to be so exact.
No, I'm saying it was like 36.9 or 39.6 million. And I heard that and I was like, per year? He's making more than Alex Rodriguez was when at his best,
Crazy.
So, yeah.
And with all the
makes the league a lot of money.
All the bad decisions he makes and all the decisions he doesn't make or rules he doesn't set in place that should be in place, that's like mind blowing that he makes that kind of money.
But he did participate in that social media thing with the water bucket challenge. So, good for him with that, right?
Oh yeah, I know he's very supportive of those
yes.
terminal illnesses.
He makes the owners a lot of money.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we all work for companies, and all they care about is the bottom line. There's going to be crazy stuff going on in the background that most people may not know about, but the people that do know, they I don't know how they sleep at night, but it's at the end of the day for money. So this is a perfect example of that, because this is just a money-making machine, this league. People, like, crazy stuff happens. Like, these guys are convicted felons, and they're beating up their girlfriends and wives, and people don't care. They're like, send them on my team. Like, I want him to play on my team because he'll make my team better.
They don't go to the Cowboys, right, according to you.
Yeah, I knew that bugged you a little bit before.
He has no factual basis of it. I'm asking who, and he's like,
We were having a debate before on Jerry Jones, and I was just like, I was just trying to throw a bunch of things at him, saying, Jerry Jones is a bad GM, a bad owner because this, that, and the other, and one of them was that he just signs a bunch of criminals.
Yeah. Flying Dutchman knows all about your biases.
I call him the Dutch, but the Dutch is a little biased himself. I'll be honest with you.
I don't believe that. I don't believe me and the Dutch can have all kinds of conversations about all kinds of topics, and it just stays equal. Me and you have a conversation, it's automatically going to be polarizing just because you're in it.
Ditto.
But Dutch, you see where he's going with this? He thinks he's going to trick me to start talking about politics, but I'm not going to go there.
I almost said something already.
Yeah, I know you are.
Talking about Roger Goodell's salary, I'm going to start talking about Roger Goodell's.
You should be like, we compare to like the Roger Goodell's salary in that whole situation, Venezuela.
How about those Chiefs and Pats?
Yeah, so good segue. We go from Venezuela to the Chiefs Pats. That was an awesome game. Of course, the Pats roll on. Brady does his thing. Julian Edelman makes big catches. So does Gronk. It's sickening to watch. But what are you gonna do? Dutch, I guess with your
I'll get it.
No, it's efficiency, man. I was thinking about it with that whole situation of D Ford being offside. They get a second chance and they end up putting it away. It's that there are teams that maybe make mistakes like that and can get away with it and don't get away with it, but the Patriots get away.
They make you pay.
Yeah, they make you pay. Like the other teams don't capitalize on those situations, or they make too many of those mistakes.
We were saying he's done. They're done, right? We're so happy, right? We're all cheerleading them being done.
Yeah, I don't want to relive that because that was a bet. Like we could pull that video clip and that audio clip from that first podcast on how we were all calling. Yeah, we were calling the Pats dead, and all of a sudden, like we believed in the Chargers for some reason, which in hindsight was madness.
What were we on? What were we doing?
I don't know. I think we were all sleep deprived at that point.
Jesus.
We were doing that very late. But I mean, that game. Your boy Rex Burkhead, he did a little bit more in that game. They kind of like spread it around.
He had 2 touchdowns too, though.
He had 2 touchdowns in that game.
I think so. Yeah.
I think he did.
James White had 1. Right?
I think so. Bring up the stat. But all of them. I mean, James White is so. I was on my high horse talking about him last time. How much they like to target him out the backfield and how tough he is to cover. And Shoney Michel is just He's an underrated beast of a running back. He's a guy that's he can run between the tackles and get outside. I mean, he's got good lateral quickness, and they know how to use him as an offense. Josh McDaniels deserves a lot of credit with how well this team has played over the years, because there have been years where they have they have guys like Kevin Falk who would have no career and would never be remembered ever if you were on any other team. But they put these guys in positions to win. It's such a sport that coaching does matter a lot.
But they got running backs now.
They do have running backs now. No, there's no denying it. I mean, a guy like Edelman, the guy is so short-handed. Gronk may have the softest hands that a tight end has ever had. I mean, he runs like a robot now, and he's not the same player anymore. But, I mean, he's still very productive. And the most underrated part of him is his blocking. The guy blocks like a tackle sometimes. It's crazy. The way that he seals blocks for the running backs.
Sony Michel had 29 carries for 113, 2 touchdowns. Rex Burkhead had 41 yards on 12 carries. James White had 6 for 23 and another 4 catches for 49.
Yeah. They're tough, man. Because Brady and Breeze, like these great quarterbacks, they're great because they can get the ball out of their hands quick. And like Brady's a perfect example of that. So much of Brady's, I guess you could say, the way that he cuts up defenses, it's like lulling them to sleep with the short game, and then he'll hit you deep for one, and then you got to respect it, and then he can just keep playing that game with you.
Yeah, even in the middle, he hits you in the middle of the field.
Yeah,
He keeps hitting you short so much, you start coming up, he just starts dropping right behind you. And
yeah. Well, what on that last drive, it was like 3rd and 10, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 10. They made all of them. Like in the clutch moments, the guy you can't deny it. The fact that we all bet against him in the first round in that divisional round against the Chargers is.
But their team is not that good. They don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but it's another thing too that they have the experience, and the experience is a big thing. The Chiefs, I was surprised. I thought the Chiefs were going to win that game, and it could have gone either way. It was. Yeah. I think the Chiefs just dug too big of a hole in the beginning of the game, going down like that, and they got lucky that Brady threw that pick in the end zone, because that game could have been over before it started. But Flying Dutchman, you got any additional
I thought
feedback?
I thought it was interesting. The Patriots do what the Patriots do, which is whether it's on offense or defense, they always have something they're going to like shut down. And the fact that everything I looked at was that they shut down Tyreek Hill by throwing Jonathan Jones, who hadn't played really any time at cornerback, who's the fastest guy on the Patriots, stuck him on Tyreek Hill, and he just followed him around all day, and then he got safety help over the top. So then they had their best cornerback, Stephon Gilmore, on Sammy Watkins, and it's just like they just kept going. They essentially took where they should have had their top cornerback. What?
They're just smarter than you.
Exactly. They basically just took a nobody, put him at the top, and then dropped everyone down a level, so they were superior at the end of the day. And it just seems like people can't answer the Patriots, because then the Patriots have 2 other answers that they're already ready to roll out as soon as you do, and they do the same thing on offense. And it's like, why can't other teams do this? These coaches are getting paid $6 million, $10 million a year, and they just aren't as smart. Their game plans aren't as smart. It's like they don't even script against the other team. They script to their own strength versus the other's weakness, which the Belichick just does really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a great point, and that was one thing that I thought of actually before the game too. It's like that they're going to take away Tyreek Hill, and like you're going to have to, from the Chiefs standpoint, you got to try and obviously establish a running game, but you got to Kelsey's got to have a big game, because you knew that Tyreek Hill was going to become a non-factor. You know that he's the most dangerous guy. He can open up the game just in one play. He could take it to the house for 75 yards.
I would have liked to see them use him in some shortage areas, a little bit more in the slot. I mean, I think he was in the slot quite a bit, but they just didn't use him in short. It's like they only want to go long to him. I don't know why. I mean, they tried some stuff towards the mid to the end of the game, but I just would have liked to see them mix it up a little bit more just to get him involved, because I felt like that was a big gaffe on their end, but whatever.
Yeah, but it's also, I think the one thing that's underrated about that game, and I guess it's easy obviously to put blame on their game plan, but the way that the Patriots looked right at the start of the game, and they go up 14-0 like that, and all of a sudden, like the script kind of like it either goes out the window or it gets changed, or like it gets managed in a different way, just because like the game's changed now. It's not 0-0. Like, all right, we're playing from behind. We got to make sure that we're putting points on the board the next drive, and sometimes you're overthinking things and not maybe sticking to the game plan that you originally went into the game with. So those situations are tough. The Pats just look like a machine right from the start of the game. You kind of knew what was going to happen. You thought that eventually the Chiefs would put up some points, but the Pats just look like they have a chip on their shoulder. And what's annoying about that is that they're just they win so much, and they're taking these comments like they're done and they're not the same team anymore, and they're acting like they're the big underdogs now when it's sickening. I can't even talk that much about the Patriots because I'm sick of seeing them win.
This Sunday would have been much more interesting had the Chiefs won the game. Sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I was saying that this is the matchup that I didn't want to see. If Brady and the Patriots were going to make it, I wanted to see him against Breeze. We haven't seen that big matchup yet against those two guys in a big game. And then if it were the Chiefs and the Rams, we would have gotten that rematch from that sick game earlier in the season.
Yeah, but the Rams can get the. I mean, if you look at it in a different way, the Rams can get the pass rush. Between them and the Saints, they have enough guys. I mean, they have 4 first-rounders. So that's what's going to beat Brady is getting pressure all day long. So at least you can maybe have a glimpse of hope that somehow they get something going, and then the game becomes interesting. But I agree, the game's going to be essentially double digits. Patriots win, in my opinion. I
feel like we'll see it in the beginning. Like if the Patriots set the tone right away, I think that game will be over. And I'm not saying that it's particularly going to be like a blowout, but they'll control the game. They'll manage the clock. They'll put up points. I mean, I can't see them losing the game.
I hope he's wrong. I really do. I think it'll be closer than that.
I hope so.
Hope it's a decent game at least.
It's gonna be good, but we can move on now from the recap.
This is gonna be fun.
I guess to sum everything up.
I'm going to stay silent on this segment because I'd love to see the two of you discuss it.
All right, very good. I want you to read how you have this written too. Exactly how you have it written. I want you to read it for the podcast.
All right. So full disclosure for the 3 listeners that we'll probably have after this, we send out an agenda, or I sent these guys an agenda prior to recording, so we could get a little bit prepared to talk on these comments. And one thing that I noticed on ESPN.com, one of the main headlines for the day, it read Jerry Jones stating Jason Garrett not on shaky ground. And the way that I worded it in our little agenda was that ventriloquism is still in full effect, because I've used a funny meme in the past about Jerry Jones, and basically Geppetto holding up Pinocchio, and Jerry Jones is Geppetto and Jason Garrett is Pinocchio. And I've been saying it for years. You didn't want to believe it in the past. You kind of rebutted like what I had to say in terms of like he's his puppet.
And continue to rebut you. Come on. Get
well, now you've changed now, but in the past it was 3-4 years ago that wasn't the case. But Jerry Jones, he's too much of an egomaniac that he's got to make decisions on everything. And the fact that he's a GM and he has his own press conferences after games, it's ridiculous. And I don't agree with you on the standpoint of, you said earlier that you think that Jason Garrett's going to get fired if they don't get further in the playoffs than they did this past year. And I don't agree with that. I think there's a chance that he might get fired if they don't make the playoffs, but who are they going to bring in? If it's the only scenario I can maybe see is if they bring someone in internally that Jerry Jones knows he could make him his you-know-what.
All right, let me break down one at a time. Let's start with who they're going to bring in. I think the answer to that would be it'll be either their new defensive coordinator or their soon-to-be new defensive coordinator, Chris Richard. He'll either get the opportunity, or if it's not, it could be like a Sean Payton type. Drew Brees' career is winding down with the Saints, and Sean Payton's from the Dallas area. I could definitely see that marriage working. That's who could take over the job. The reason I think Garrett's going to be gone if they don't make at least the NFC Championship game is because I think Jason Garrett's done everything else as a coach he needed to. He's won divisions. He's made it to the playoffs. He's won playoff games. He just hasn't made it as far as the NFC Championship game. I think he needs to progress in that way. Cowboys have a good young team. They have a good young defense, especially. They have a decent amount of cap space, as we'll get into in a little bit. We'll start talking about different moves the Cowboys and the Giants can make. But I think it's that kind of a step is needed for Jason Garrett to keep his job. He's already been the coach for like 10 years. It's been a long time already. He's been given a lot of leeway. And all saying he's not on shaky ground, that's for this season. That's a reference to. That's not Jerry's and also, what is he going to say? I mean, the guy's going to be his coach this year. What is he going to say? Yeah, if he doesn't do it, he's going to get fired.
Well, he's obviously not going to say that, but I don't know. I don't completely agree. You've even said many times in the past, especially all those Romo Cowboy teams, that the Cowboys just have no talent. I mean, you say that they've got players.
Blair's great. Witten's great. Romo's great, but player 20 to 53.
But then what does that say about what Jason Garrett had to coach? No, so if you're not putting a great team out there for him, what are you expecting him to do? Now he's got a good team, he's got a good defense, and he brought them. I thought that they, in my opinion, going into the season, I mean, they overachieved, and now they've established themselves as having a very strong defense.
If you remember our conversation, you told me that they were going to be way worse than they were. You told me that you told me I was
going into the season
they were going to win 9 games, 10 games. I was crazy. Remember this?
No, I said you were. No, that wasn't the exact.
I was a biased fan. That's what it was.
Well, you are a biased fan.
Oh man.
No, I think I said something along the lines of I think you predicted Dallas to finish above like the Giants or something like that, and I disagreed with you, but you were right on. I'll eat crow on that. I'm not.
Giants roster's terrible. You want to look at this thing?
Yeah, I know. We're gonna go into that a little bit, but I think you also didn't realize I mean, I obviously didn't realize, but nobody really had a guy like Van Der Esch becoming the player that he has.
I was not happy with that pick. I wanted DJ Moore or even Calvin Ridley.
It shows that you know as a Cowboy fan.
What?
Shows that you know as a Cowboy fan.
Yeah.
Let's try to take a little dig. Yeah, the Cowboys. It sucks to see, especially since the Eagles are still a good team, but. I don't know. I think
last time we were doing this.
What I said last time though, or what I said to you earlier, the Cowboys. I can't see Jason Garrett getting fired if he gets fired if they make the same they have the same run.
I see your point. I mean,
they're not better than the Saints. They're not better than the Rams.
I think it'll matter a lot how it happens, how it goes down. I mean, if you get dominated or you lose on let's say you lose on a terrible call, a pass interference that should have been called. I mean, I think he'll be given a lot more leeway in a scenario that happened to Sean Payton and the Saints if that were to happen. But there's no telling how it'll go down. But I think he would be given another chance if something like that happened. But otherwise, I mean, if he doesn't make it to that point, I don't know. I just don't see it. And because even with their offensive coordinator selection, they're putting Kellen Moore. That's 30 years old. He has no experience coaching the NFL. Last year, he was the quarterback coach. The year before, he was a backup quarterback for the Cowboys. I mean, Jason Garrett cannot want this guy to be his offensive coordinator. He can't. There's no way he doesn't want some better candidate than Kellen Moore, but he's not getting his way at this point.
But there's what? Like, when has he gotten his way? He's a Jerry Jones puppet. He does what he says. He's a yes man. It is what it is.
Jason Garrett runs the whole program, though. He really does. He runs the whole program.
He's a male cheerleader. That's all he is. It's the truth.
You see him clapping? That dude's always.
Yeah, he loves it. And then like his little fist bump.
All right, I have to chime in on my opinion on Jason Garrett.
Hey, go for it.
The thing I just don't like about him, because again, I don't pay as much attention to the Cowboys as I do, obviously, the Giants. But when they have and it's a stupid thing, but I paid a lot of attention to interpersonal communication because I was a communications minor, and they really do say to pay attention to that, and that's a big deal when it comes to a leader. And the way that he reacts when his team has a good play, it's like he doesn't know how to properly it's just weird. It's like when I look at it, and it sounds stupid, he goes to give them these hugs that he just puts his arm around them, and it's like does this weird hug, and it's the player's like, all right, get off me, coach. And he's like, yeah, we're bros, but really, no, you're the coach. I'd rather see something, Belichick isn't doing that. You might see him give a high five if somebody really does a legit play, but he's not even looking at the guy who makes the play. He's like, oh, you did your job. Congratulations. Good job. Go get some water. So that's the difference. I think that because of that, I can never see him being a legit coach. And it's such a stupid thing. It's a leadership thing that I just don't think he carries himself as a leader, but that's 2 cents.
I honestly think he is a pretty good leader of men in general. That's one of the qualities I like about him more. His game management is something.
You know more about him. I'm just saying that's my 2 cents that I've seen.
Honestly, if when Bill Belichick listens to this episode, he's going to get pissed off that Jason Garrett's name got brought up in the same conversation as his name. So it's not even a comparison.
I mean, obviously it's not even a comparison. I mean, it's like, come on. I mean, it's ridiculous. Man, it's ridiculous. You know,
I'm surprised you actually said that was ridiculous. I thought you were going to actually make an argument for it.
Did you guys watch the Pro Bowl? Did you watch the Pro Bowl?
No, I didn't watch. I can't watch that.
I watched a little bit of it, and I watched mostly. Actually, no, I didn't even see the whole thing. I just watched it.
The Pro Bowl is like a bye for my team. I take that week off sometimes.
I don't even remember the last time I watched it. It's so bad.
I saw highlights on Twitter though. Okay, and seeing Zeke run a fake punt, Jason Garrett called it a fake punt because Jason Garrett coached the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, why was that?
Because
it means he's a good coach. That's why.
No, the losing teams.
The best coaches in the league.
The losing teams, I think, on the road in that week of the playoffs coached the Pro Bowl, something like that.
Something weird like that.
So
I think Jerry Jones made a special call because of this boy.
I wanted Garrett fired just based off the same kind of thing Lee was saying, though. Just his weird, awkward reactions to Zeke running a fake punt and just his, like, how happy he looked and how, like, doting he looked. It was so awkward and it was so weird. In that moment, I said to my wife, I was like I know it's stupid, but I want him fired just based on how stupid he looks.
For his actions in the Pro Bowl.
It's just so weird. Like, why is he so awkward?
He celebrates too much. He's honestly like the water boy cheerleader of the team. The guy who's passing out Gatorades and stuff, and then he's the one that's smacking a guy in the ass like after a good play. Like that's the way he is.
This is a terrible analysis of the Cowboys. Just stop.
Hey, you brought it up.
Terrible.
But we went on that I think for too long. But let's move on now. We'll talk a little bit of Cowboys still, and now the Giants. But we're gonna take a look at the offseason. So we have different scenarios here. We got a shout out overthecap.com. We're doing a breakdown of Giants and Cowboys. And there's some guys that I was looking at the free agent list, guys that are available to sign. And the Giants obviously have a lot of holes. And they got some key free agents this year. Landon Collins being obviously the biggest one. There's some other guys like B.W. Webb who he can leave. I'm not really going to cry.
Garbage.
He played a lot, though. He played 90-something% of the snaps.
Well, that's how bad their defense is, the personnel. I mean, that pretty much says it all. But
B.W. Webb, former Cowboy, by the way.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Well, I feel like he's been on like 15 different teams.
Steelers,
nobody wants him.
He was ranked like something ridiculous. Like he was 117 out of 121, and I forget what the rating was.
Yeah,
but it's like that's bad for him. And he essentially was a starter for the amount of snaps he played.
I remember Mike Mayock loved him. Just saying. Remember him saying he'd be standing on the table for B.W. Webb right now.
Can't hit him. Can't hit on them all. I mean, Mel Kiper, I'm sure, has missed plenty of
Raiders. He better hit a couple of them.
Yeah, but Tony, I'm gonna pass it to you.
Right,
you're the one that really dives into overthecap.com, which is a pretty cool resource, and you're able to like play around in there. What like stands out to you the most, whether it's an available free agent or if it's a person that they could cut and it would maybe help the salary cap a little bit, depending on like how big the hit is and how they would maneuver some money to maybe sign some free agents in the offseason.
So how I like to do this on overthecap.com is I usually just go in. There's a calculator mode where you can actually simulate cutting the player or doing a June 1 cut. A June 1 cut, basically, if you cut a player outright, all their remaining guaranteed money gets automatically accelerated into the cap for that season. If you make them a June 1 cut, the money is split over the following 2 seasons. That's maybe a layman's explanation of it, but that's more or less it. So the guys that I went through and I saw that the Giants could save some money by cutting, and here's the list. We can go through it. The first guy on the list is Eli Manning. If the Giants cut him, they save $17 million, and they incur $6.2 million of dead money. And right, me and you already talked about this. I would definitely not be opposed to the Giants to improve the team to cut Eli outright and save the $17 million and use that money somewhere else. Maybe we were talking about Haskins or even the kid from Oklahoma, the quarterback, the one
Kyler Murray.
He could be pretty good too. I mean, he could be an option too for the Giants. So I mean, what do you guys think about?
Yeah, but that's such a big risk. I mean, the guy is already not trustworthy. The fact that he made a special deal with the Oakland Athletics to play in college for 1 year, took a signing bonus of $4.2 million, Like, he would have been. They said he would have been the second in the MLB draft, and the Athletics were stupid enough to trust him. Now he's realizing, guaranteed money. If I get drafted in the first round in the NFL versus my $4.2 million bonus, where I'm going to have to sit in the minors for 5 to 6 years, staying in motels. He clearly is going to just do it. Obviously, he's going to do what's best for him, but he's not trustworthy. He promised them. So could you want to waste a first round draft pick in the NFL on this guy who could just say, you know what, I'm just going to play baseball. Never mind.
Well, football contracts are different though than baseball. They're not all guaranteed. So I mean, he's gonna need to play to get paid.
I also think that the NFL teams are going to be aware, based on like what the minimum requirements are to pay rookies, especially ones that are paid in the first or picked in the first round. They'll do their due diligence. Once it gets past that point, then he may fall a little bit further. But
when is the draft? What's the day of the draft?
April something. I'm not exactly sure.
Because that spring training will have already occurred, so they'll know if he reported there and like what the status is in baseball. So that's good news for the draft, I guess.
Well, I mean, actually, I'd like to hear both your opinions on Eli in general. Would you guys be willing to cut him for the $17 million, regardless of whether or not you're able to draft a replacement or not, or what do you guys think about Eli Manning $17 million? And would you guys consider if Eli was willing to take a pay cut?
Pay cut for $12 million or something like that, I think is fair.
I don't think it'll be 12. Me and Ray were talking about 17 because that's what he would. He's due 24 and change. He's only guaranteed 6. So I mean, maybe he can give you 6.
I think he wants to play at least 1 to 2 more years. He doesn't want to play for another team. I think Archie's come out and said that. I think I saw something like several months ago that he wants to end a Giant. Again, that could just be saying that, but who knows? But I don't think he wants to go start and be like the next, what's a good example? Fitzpatrick, that's hopping from team to team. And I'm not trying to compare him to Fitzpatrick, but even his brother, he doesn't want to.
No, that's a fair comparison.
Or Brett, yeah.
When Eli listens to this recording, he's gonna say, "You put Brian Fitzpatrick's name in the same sentence as mine."
I mean,
all right, better comparison to Brett Favre.
He was better last year.
Brett Favre did not want to play for the Minnesota Vikings. He did not want to play for the Jets. The point is, I don't think he wants to start hopping around. He's got an established family. What does he have? 3 daughters in the New Jersey area. He doesn't want to do that. So I think he would. I think he'd stay for $12 million, especially if they keep him on the inside and say, this is what we're going to do in the draft. And honestly, I could see the Giants going after to get a defensive lineman and then try to grab one of these guys like Locke in the second round. That's just my 2 cents. I think that's what the type of thing. And that's the type of guy that Eli could stick around for 2 years potentially, because that guy will need some nurturing the same way Aaron Rodgers did.
So what do you want? You're looking at a 2-year, $24 million contract. You think Eli's going to go from being due $24 million this 1 year to getting $24 million over the 2 years?
Yeah, because he's guaranteed 6 right now, and he wants to stay a Giant for life and retire and stay in New Jersey.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, what did Case Keenum is making 12.5 average per year and got some ridiculous amount of guaranteed money. I mean, bad quarterbacks get paid. I mean, Eli will get something out there.
Yeah, but Eli wants to win a 3rd championship so he can have one more than his brother. And the only way to do that is to keep some money around to give to some free agents for his last 1 to 2 year run. I'm just saying. If I were him, he's got the money.
If Eli wants to win a championship, he needs to go to a contending team.
I mean, the Giants have a lot to do. I mean, I think he will take a pay cut because he's not gonna go play anywhere else. He'll retire. Like he's gonna play for the Giants until the end of his career. If the Giants say we don't want you anymore, he's just gonna stop playing. Plain and simple. Oh, absolutely, 100%. I don't think he's gonna continue. I don't think he's gonna play a year or 2 for another team. Who's gonna want to bring him in? The only team that maybe makes sense is Jacksonville, but I mean. If that happens, I'd be surprised. The only thing that could maybe sway me of seeing him wanting to play for another team is just that Tom Coughlin's there, and he has such a good relationship with Tom Coughlin. So
Florida.
I don't know if Florida's as much of a factor, but I just think the fact that,
it's not cold like it is out here.
I don't think he bought. When you're used to this weather, when you're used to this frigid Jersey weather,
you don't get used to waking up at being 6 degrees when you walk out the door. Doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that fun in the summer when you're walking around and it's like 100 degrees with 100% humidity.
That's true.
But that's true. I still think it's very unlikely they let him go or he goes to play
I think it's a pay cut. I think he'll get a pay cut.
I think he will take a pay cut.
I'm not as optimistic as Lee is getting him for $12 million. I think 17 is a reasonable number. He's worth it. He's worth $1 million.
See, the thing is, I think if they actually go to him and say, we need to only pay you $12 million next year, or we're going to have to let you go, he'll take the $12 million. But I think they won't even do that because they love him so much. He's brought to – I think the respect factor the Mariners have for him, I don't even think they'll cut it that low. I think 17 around that area, what you said before, I think that's probably what makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But he's got to take a pay cut. But who else are they signing? Like I'm looking at this defensive line, like free agent list. You got the top guy is DeMarcus Lawrence. He's gonna. I mean, you think he's gonna resign with Dallas? I mean, I can't see him not.
Jerry just said that no one's done more to deserve it.
Yeah, but how much money do they have freed up? Because they want to go after what's his name from Seattle.
I don't think we're gonna go after him. Honestly, we have $54 million.
All right.
They can't let him go. They have such a strong defense already, and he's a difference maker. He's an absolute beast. You can't deny it. I mean, there's other guys that are affordable. I mean, we were talking before about you said Clay Matthews is. I think Clay Matthews will probably be brought back by the Packers.
He probably will, but he's a 3.
But there's other guys like Cameron Wake, who 1 or 2 year deal. You throw some money at him. I mean, he was at what an average salary of about $9.1 million. So I mean, the Giants have cap space. They've got over $26 million of cap space, and I think even without letting or making Eli have a pay cut, they can afford a couple guys like that, and they're going to need to fill some shoes because it's a possibility they cut Jenkins, and you're going to have to get some pressure on the quarterback because we were having a debate before about Jenkins where I think he's a little better than you were giving him credit for, but he does take chances at times. Yeah, but again,
I don't think he's a bad player.
Without any pass rush,
he likes to jump in and make plays.
Yeah, I mean, Asante Samuel made a nice career out of playing like that, and I think he does make big plays. He does get beat sometimes and take too many chances, but at the end of the day, when you got a pass rush, it really masks a lot of smells that are in the in the backfield.
Another guy I like who's a free agent this year for the Giants would be he's an outside linebacker for the Redskins, Preston Smith from Mizzou. He's a good player.
Yeah,
he had 4 sacks this year, and he had 6 or 7 the year before. He's had 8 in his career before too. He's good. He's a good player across from Ryan Kerrigan. And you make the division rival weaker as you get stronger, and I mean that's a smart thing to do. Man.
What's the Giants cap space as of right now if they do nothing, status quo?
They have $26 million right now, but they have a couple guys that can cut that. Eli, even if we get 6 from Eli, we're up to 32 already. The next guy on the list is Alec Ogletree too. You could save $10 million.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they let him go.
Yeah, but who do they have to slot in? I think he's the type of guy that Betcher needs, to be honest with you.
No, I actually think he's a pretty good player. Yeah. I just it just seems like I heard that wasn't there a rift a little bit with I don't know if it was with teammates or with coaches that he wasn't a great locker room guy.
No, I didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
I remember hearing that a year or two ago. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
I know he had character issues coming out of Georgia.
So. Well, I remember this was when he was getting coached by, I think Mike Singletary was the linebackers coach, and he was trying to mentor him, and he thought he had talent. And I think Singletary was hard on him because he was a different type of player than Singletary. He's a little bit more upright, I guess you could say, of a player, doesn't get as low to the ground. And I remember watching, I don't know if it was Hard Knocks or just watching some videos on TV about about their training camp and just that whole process with him trying to groom him, and it didn't seem like it was working. And all of a sudden, Singletary was gone, and Alec Ogletree never really blossomed into a really good player because Singletary would. He said that he's you got a lot of talent, but you got to refine a lot of your skills and just your footwork and everything. And I don't know. Sometimes guys don't really know how to take constructive criticism.
I see him very similar as I see Janoris Jenkins. We were talking about before. Just kind of a high risk, high reward player. He makes some phenomenal splash plays, and he'll get beats other times. So
can I mention something on Janoris Jenkins? I was going to mention it before. So I am of the GE Jack Welch, and I think Ray's heard me say this. Maybe you have too, Tony. Jack Welch, GE. There's a lot of case studies, one in college specifically, where he's got 4 types of people. You could say managers, players, whatever you want to call them. And at the end of the day, somebody with bad character or bad ethics, regardless if they are the best producer on your team, in your company, whatever it may be, or the work, no matter what they are, if they have bad character, bad ethics, which I do think Janoris Jenkins, I mean, between some of the stuff when he was first brought in by the Giants, every article is about him having like 8 kids with 8 different, women, which whatever, that's separate.
McAdoo issues.
Right. So then
nobody can beat Antonio Cromartie.
Yeah, but then on top of it, then he's got his his brother, they found a body in the basement of his house right here in Jersey, in Fairlawn, I think.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so like the guy, and then he got kicked out back when McAdoo kicked him out for the one game. He got suspended, and they kicked him out of practice for a couple of days, so he was suspended. Those are the type of guys, I mean, if you look at even the top players, I'm talking the top players, Terrell Owens, you talk about these players, yes, they put up ridiculous numbers, but there was always times in some of those careers where their ethics and character hurt the team. Plaxico Burress shoots himself in the leg. Could have had 2 Super Bowls with him. So the point is, I know it sounds crazy, but I like, and I'm not hitting on the Cowboys here. I mean, I know they've been known to go out and get guys. I mean, now it's the Redskins. The Redskins have recently went out and, what did they with what was it? The guy from not 49ers, from the Chiefs, the running back. They were the first ones to put a claim in him after they heard that he beat his girlfriend. They're like immediately the only one.
No one claimed.
Yeah, they claimed him. Yeah,
they claimed Ramon Frost.
No, I'm telling you, they put a claim in him, and everyone was picking on him. They're like, "Yep, you won't get rid of the Wahoo type of
because they just did that with Ramon Foster. He also had domestic violence.
Well, they must have done it also with what's his name? I look it up. I'm telling you, they're the only one of the 32 teams that put a claim in on him. It was a whole thing.
We were talking about this earlier. They love criminals. That's
Ray loves this narrative.
I'm talking about the Redskins. I'm not talking about the Cowboys.
No, but Ray loves the narrative too that the Cowboys go after all the criminals.
I mean, they have done that. I mean, they have been known to do that on the lines.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, every single team gets players that have questionable characters because they're talented players.
No, I don't think the Patriots do. Let's talk about the Patriots. I really don't think that they would bring in guys with bad characters.
They just had a murderer on their team.
That's true. Yeah, but they didn't know about that.
I know they did though.
They did though.
Yeah, they absolutely did.
But I'm saying no. I'm just saying they want guys that I know they bring in Randy Moss. He ran his mouth, but he served his purpose. But in reality, I want ethic players. So Janoris Jenkins, I'd be happy to see him go. I think even J.C. McCourty or Sam Shields or Ronald Darby are all I saw on the list. I'd like any one of those guys.
We were talking about Ronald Darby too. I would like that move for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, if they bring in any one of those, Sam Shields, I just like because I feel like he's a veteran presence. He's seen a lot of playoff time when he was with the Packers. I like the McCourty brothers, and again, Darby just shined for the Eagles defense when you weren't expecting him to.
Yeah, Darby was the one guy when you brought up earlier when we were talking about it. That's a guy I would love to go after and get.
June 1st, if you cut him as a June 1 cut, you get $11.25 million back for cutting Janoris Jenkins.
That would be nice.
I think I would do it. And the only problem is
there's no other cornerbacks.
Corners are very weak. Well, there's one. I mean, you guys know Sam Beal, right? You guys got him in the supplement.
Yeah. What's his recovery? Because I know he got injured at the beginning of the year. He was out for the whole season, right?
He got hurt early in the year. He should be fine for next season.
He went on IR right away, right?
He's going to be a good player. I was really mad.
Yeah, because didn't they give up the second round pick to get him?
Third.
Third round pick. That's
he's worth a second round though.
What do they call that? What draft is that? The
supplemental
draft. Got it. And they were one of the only teams to actually do a supplemental draft pick, right?
Correct. And I was very upset that they got Sam Beal because I like him a lot.
And why? Yeah. And explain. Do you have commentary on how he actually what made him fall to that?
He's a big. I'm not sure exactly why he was in the supplemental draft, but he's a big corner.
There was a story though. I remember there was a reason why he wasn't in the actual draft. He elected late or something.
He's maybe. Sam Beal. Let me Google it real quick for you guys.
And while you're looking that up, I just they have $26 million of cap space. There's not a ton in terms of a lot of good value out there, for the free agents. There's some risk. There's some older guys. Some of the guys that are free agents, like Lawrence and Clay Matthews, they're probably just going to re-sign. So I don't really think that the Giants necessarily need to get rid of Janoris Jenkins. I still like him as a player. I think the pay cut with Eli, if they could free up an additional like $7 million with the pay cut, I think they could be in pretty good shape to sign some of these guys, because a couple of the guys on the list that also stood out to me that were at pretty reasonable prices were, we got Haloti Ngata is a free agent.
He's old.
Shane Ray was another one that now he's not really going to play anymore. Like if he were still signed with the Broncos, the fact that they got Von Miller and Chubb, like we saw that he was playing a very low percentage of snaps last year, and the kid's got talent. If you remember, he was a late first round pick, so he's definitely a guy at $2.2 million that you could sign and I think and get value.
That was his
from.
last year contract also, so you got to be careful of that. Like, they could be in for a nice size raise.
Yeah, but I think even if it were twice that amount, if it were in the $4.5-5 million range, I think I said it like the last podcast. Like, you win games in the trenches, especially with an immobile quarterback like Eli. You need a solid offensive line, and then you need to get pressure on the opposing quarterback. And I think guys like that, even D Ford too, the guy that was offside in that big play against the Patriots. I think that he's another guy. His average yearly salary was $2.039 million. So he's another guy like in that range that he's blossomed into a good player. Now he may be in that same class where the Chiefs don't want to let him go because he is a player that's been emerging and gotten better over the last couple of years. So there's options though.
Sam Beal went to the supplemental draft because they weren't sure about his eligibility, and he could have went through all the offseason camps and stuff, and they could have just told him, the NCAA could have told him he wasn't eligible. So
gotcha.
he didn't want to risk it, so he went to the supplemental draft.
Okay. Noted.
Give you a little.
So are you doing any type of thing where we each pick like 3 guys or something that we'd love to see the Giants or Cowboys get? Anything like that, Ray?
Not necessarily. It was kind of like an open conversation. I was actually going to move to the Cowboys scenario now.
Actually,
I know he knows this like the back of his
hand. There's 2 more guys I want to review real quick for the Giants.
Yeah, you mentioned Red Ellison and
I think they'll be pretty easy decisions too. First one's Jonathan Stewart. I think it's an easy cut. It's $2.525 million. Get back.
They already announced that he's gone. They already announced that.
They already announced it? Okay, so then they're going to get that.
So did they all. They were also announced he wasn't a cut, but they, what's his name's gone? Barwin.
Okay, Barwin's gone too. So, so the Giants are probably going to be looking about, if they make some of these cuts, they're about $40 million. You can get their cap space up to about $40 million, let's say.
Yeah, but
at least one of those guys.
For me, it's not the cap space is one thing, but is there enough free agents out there that that are attainable that we're even gonna need that cap space?
I think.
Because I think so. I mean, take a look.
Go after the middling kind of guys. Yeah, I think a bunch of them.
I think the Giants go after Ryan Khalil. They had a chance at him a couple of years ago to lock down center. They had Weston Richburg, and they thought, he was going to be good. Ryan Khalil, he like really secured the Panthers line. When they got him, they all of a sudden became a different unit, in my opinion. So I'd love to see them go after him. I'm not really too impressed, and I don't want to pay top dollar for any of the other line guys. So that's why I would like to somehow see something maybe second round, bring in a lineman.
You could also look. You don't need a star at every offensive line position. I mean, if you go out and sign a guy like that, you have a decent left tackle, you have a good left guard in Will Hernandez. You go get a good center. You can bring back in Jerome Brown or
Greco.
Even Greco as a starter as the other guard position. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think that would be a better line. If you
or Flowers, we could always bring Flowers back because that would always be a great idea.
You mean the person that shall not be named?
Dutchman.
Unreal. Yeah, Dutchman's getting too rowdy right now.
Flowers. I mean, I did tell you Flowers was a right tackle when he came out, and turns out he's not even that.
He's definitely not that. He's worse at that.
He's a water boy. That's what he is. I mean, the Ryan Khalil. That's a good call on your part. But we'll see if they actually sign these guys, because I think there's one thing where, all right, ideally we can clear up this amount of cap space if we get rid of these guys, and these are all the guys that we can sign potentially with that amount of money. And I think the thing that you got to think about too is that all of them or most of them may not even want to play for the Giants.
Yeah.
So and they might not want to live in New Jersey.
Everybody wants to play for the Giants, the Steelers. Like there's certain organizations teams want to play for. You know what I mean? Like whether
you sound like the Patriots fans.
I mean, New York's a nice place to be too. I mean, it's a lot to do.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying that's something that's got to be factored in.
Yeah.
Now,
this isn't the New York Mets. This isn't the New York Mets where you have to worry about, they're not going to come here. We can throw out the most money at them.
Always going to the Dutch.
I'm the one that's labeled as Mr. Bias, right?
I wasn't being biased. I was calling it out. I'm being serious. The Giants, like people want to play for the Giants. Let's be real. Like I'm a Mets fan and Giants fan. I have to actually be scared that if the Mets were to offer more money than another team, they still might go to the other team. But if the Giants are right there with them, people will give deal. They'll first come see the Giants. They won't even let them leave.
But you can't make the comparison of like Giants Mets.
Well, it's New York, New York. That's what I'm saying. It's New York, New York.
You can turn the team around real quickly. I don't think free agents are going to look at the Giants as like, oh my God, they're so terrible, I can't sign with them. You know what I'm saying? They also have key big name players too, like Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley. People want to play with Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley. If you're an offensive player, you want to play with those players. You want to block.
No,
if you're Ryan Cleary, you want to block for that guy. You want to.
Yeah, I agree with you, but there's always scenarios where, like maybe the 49ers they have a hole in a gap in a position that the Giants have, and they want to sign the same guy that the Giants want to sign, and they'll pay him $2 million more than the Giants are willing to pay him.
Then they have,
why? What's their cap? Why do they?
I'm just spitballing like a random situation.
The Jets have $100 million in cap space.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's a double combination. It's New York, which that's renowned. That people want to play in New York. They want to play in LA. Maybe you could throw Chicago into that mix. There's certain cities that people want to play in. And then on top of it, there's good organizations. Like the Steelers are known right now. They're not looking like a good organization with all the stuff going on with them. But normally they're a good organization. The Patriots are normally a good organization. The Giants for years and years and years, generations. So I think they have two things going for them. So as long as they're not just getting it blown out or the players from that area, they have every right to go after these players and expect that they have a chance that they're willing to pay the dollar.
Yeah, I mean, I agree and disagree on like the whole New York thing. Like there's a lot more pressure in New York. I mean, I'm a Knicks fan, and it's look how the Knicks have they're trying to set themselves up like with your mentality that you have right now. Where we're New York. We can try and
get. Didn't they just trade Porzingis today?
Exactly. They just freed up space to be able to have enough money to sign 2 max contract guys. But when have they proven that they're a place that the big free agents want to go? They freed up cap space when LeBron was becoming a free agent after he left the Heat, and they didn't even come close to sign him. He actually even trolled them and went to Greenwich, Connecticut, which is right by New York City. And he freaking did that whole decision thing, and then he signs with the Heat.
We're way off topic right now. We got.
No, I know. Yeah.
Before we move on to the Cowboys from the Giants, though, we're all re-signing Lenny Collins, and we're all re-signing Alger Grosses, right?
Yeah, I mean I think they're crazy not to. So I think it's a no-brainer.
All right.
What about Tyrann Mathieu?
I like the move, and you know who I like too, Mike Iupati.
I wrote him down too.
I like him a lot. I think the Giants could really.
He's played with what? He's played with both the 49ers and the Seahawks?
I think Cardinals last year.
Oh, that's who it was. Okay.
So, okay. You guys want to move on to the Cowboys?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the Cowboys made decisions. They don't have a ton of them, but they have a pretty big name at the top of it. Cowboys could save $6.5 million by cutting Sean Lee. Well, Snake Lee.
Snake Lee. Yeah.
Snake Lee.
Will they do that?
I mean, they got Van Der Esch and they got Jalen Smith. I would definitely.
He's always injured. You're really playing. You're going to get 10 to 12 games out of him.
And honestly, during the playoff game, I was screaming. I was irate that he was on the field as much as he was. It's just, you know what? That's something to me that Jason Garrett is horrible at. He's just a very stubborn person. He's gonna line up and he's gonna have 3 tight ends on the field and it's gonna be goal line and he's gonna run it at you and he just thinks he's got to be good enough. The team's got to just be good enough to just get that yard. Well, sometimes it's not that simple. Sometimes you spread them out. I mean, sometimes you bring in some receivers and you spread them out, and you can still run with Zeke. He's just very set in his ways and very stubborn, and that's something I don't like about him. Which is another reason why I can see them keeping Sean Lee. But I think the move would definitely be to cut him.
I think.
What about a pay cut?
I think
he won't take one, right? He won't take one because he's got an opportunity.
I don't know. I don't know if he would. It's a tough call.
Do you feel like he fell off this year? That's what I mean. That's how I felt when I was watching the games. That he's definitely. I mean, he was like the guy you'd want. Not the guy. He was one of the top 3 to 5 guys you'd want at that position. And this year, he just sort of fell off.
For us, he was the guy that when he was injured, it made all the difference on our defense. It was like day and night. The defense was terrible without him, and pretty good with him. But I mean, yeah, he's getting older too, and he's always, like you said, he's always banged up. And this year they did a lot of resting of him and a lot of trying to manage him. He still got injured, even with all that. He still was getting hurt. And I think it's time to just move on from him, honestly.
I think part of it is that whole kind of going back to what we were talking about, or how we were talking about Jason Garrett earlier, about how he's like wants to be such a player's coach. He wants to be liked by so much of the players or so many of the players. And he has this thing where he just seems like he wants to make everyone happy, and he probably likes Sean Lee as a person. And Sean Lee has been a really good player in the past, so he feels obligated that he's got to play him a little bit. And I mean, with how good Van Der Esch has been playing, playing the whole season, you let him just run until he falls over and heals over. Like
the guys who got you there. So I'm a big proponent of that in fantasy too. Like if I drafted you and you got me to the playoffs, I'm gonna roll with you. I'm not gonna pick up some waiver free agent that's projected, some decent points. I'm gonna go roll with the guys who got me.
Unless his name's Leonard Fournette. Unless his name's Leonard Fournette.
Bum.
Unfortunately, sports are cruel in a sense that when you get injured, you could potentially lose your job from it. So, and I think that's the case with Sean Lee. I feel like there's a chance that they might cut him because, that's $6.5 million. I feel like is a lot for a guy that's not really going to play much. I think they'll be smarter next year with Van Der Esch. As long as he's healthy going into the season, I think that he'll just be the workhorse middle linebacker.
I mean, they're still going to need to get a replacement because you need 3 pretty good.
I also think he'd be fine with it too because I think he could make more money than that. I think he could get signed. I think he could hear me out. I think he could get signed by someone, and they put enough incentives for him, the amount of games that he plays,
that's how the Cowboys
that he can make more than that.
Cowboys had big discrepancies. Like the more games he played, he had big roster bonuses, so he made more money if he played the games. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's a hell of a player.
He's a good player.
I'll take him on the Giants. He's actually one of the Cowboys I don't hate. So I would welcome with open arms. Get rid of Ogletree and get Sean. But the thing, actually, I don't even know if I would get rid of Ogletree, to be honest with you, because he's always hurt. That's the problem.
So true.
But, I mean, Lawrence is he's a no-brainer, right? I was actually interested to see Cole Beasley on there. What do you guys think you're going to do with him? Because I personally, I'm a big fan. He's a good player.
He's a good player. I love Cole Beasley, but
they should use him more.
He's awful for fantasy. He pisses me off. I always am like, he's going to get 10 receptions for 49 yards. It just pisses me off.
I think –
you can't trust Dak as a fantasy quarterback.
Oh, no, you can't. Well, no, that's I guess kind of what I was alluding to with Cole Beasley. If your team isn't that good, if you have Cole Beasley on it,
that's the point. I want him to be good
this year.
I guess I would love to see Cole Beasley with Brady. I wonder what Brady could do with him. Interested.
He'd be good. I mean, he's that catch against the Giants to beat him. I mean,
no, he's not versatile enough to be on the Patriots. The Patriots he's all short passes. They want a guy who's all short passes until they say, nope, you're just actually going to do I don't even know what the name of the freaking play, but something that's going to get him to the second level, because that's what Edelman can do. He can hurt you everywhere.
Work the seam. You mean?
Yeah, Beasley cannot do that. And that's the problem.
I mean, Beasley he'll catch deeper. Middle
once every 4 games.
I mean, you got to also
but look who he's playing with.
He's got
but he was playing with Romo. And Romo, you know what I'm saying?
And look at his numbers with Romo. Check his numbers out.
How many years did he play with Romo?
2 or 3?
3, yeah. But he had one really nice year.
And those were his early years too, as a receiver.
Yeah, he was young and fast.
He was pretty fast. Yeah, he's pretty fast.
How old is he? He's not that old yet.
Got 29, 28.
29? Yeah, he hasn't lost his speed yet.
He's pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't mind keeping Cole Beasley, but I'd rather re-sign Tavon Austin. I'd rather have the dynamics.
Really?
Yeah, I'd rather have the dynamics.
Wow, that's surprising.
I'd rather have.
Why?
Amari Cooper.
You got to back up that comment with the support, like rationale.
Because how much is Cole Beasley going to want?
Well, I'm not talking about money, but how is Tavon Austin going to fit in? Like
money fits into everything a lot.
No. I'm saying is Tavon Austin going to step up and like all of a sudden be the slot receiver going?
You guys have almost twice.
I prefer to have him as a weapon on my team than I'd prefer to have Cole Beasley.
You guys also have like almost twice the cap space the Giants have.
Yeah.
So I mean, how much of a difference would Cole Beasley and Tavon Austin be in terms of money?
I think Cole Beasley will be probably about $5 or $6 million. I think he's going to get something.
But where are you going to play Tavon Austin? What
you're talking? He did this year. I mean, you have other guys.
What did he do this year?
What
did he do this year?
Tavon?
Yeah.
I mean, he got hurt, but
he's going to put that Tebow role on the punt where he's going to block for the punter. That's his new role.
I can tell you.
Jason Garrett's got it all figured out.
I can tell you one thing Tavon Austin did. He burnt the crap out of Jackrabbit on that touchdown week 1.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And then everyone thought, let's go pick up Tavon Austin because he's going to be amazing for the Cowboys. And
no, I didn't think that. But
Tavon
will never be a fantasy relevant guy. But.
Yeah, I guess my rebuttal will be that the Cowboys will be sitting on the couch with the Giants watching the Super Bowl. Okay. So
we'll see.
That's all that matters really at the end of the day.
At least we'll be in contention for the next couple of years and not watching every single year in the playoffs. You guys are going to be at least a top 10 pick the next 2 years, at least another year. You got at least another year of being in the top 10.
I don't agree with that.
You don't think?
Nah, let him go. We were
Beckham already said the Giants will be in the playoffs next year. Well, Beckham says, Beckham does.
I would put money on it.
Oh, God. Oh, don't.
I would put money on it.
Yeah,
their depth charts.
I'm not obviously like that high on the Giants. I was a little optimistic going into this season. I'm like, if they don't turn around this season, then I'm really concerned. And by turning it around, I was hoping they could be maybe a 10-6 team, but yeah, they're just, it's the same thing. There's too many holes. They're too top heavy. Like we were talking about earlier, like those Romo teams, they had him, they had Dez Witt, and they had like some really strong players at the top, but like the guys at the bottom that you have to fill out the rest of your starting lineup and your roster
injuries, you're done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's the Giants are very similar because if you really break down their offense, they got some talent on the offense.
They do.
But with a soft
but you're
offensive
making it
line,
seem like they're top heavy because they went out and spent all the money on free agents. Not.
Well, I mean, they kind of did though.
No.
Yeah, they got rid of them.
No, but they kind of did.
They got rid of Damon Harris, and that's one of the big spends. And they get rid of Joris Jenkins. That's 2.
I would argue Damon Harrison was the one they shouldn't have gotten rid of.
I'd agree with that, but I'm saying like who are these top heavy guys? I mean, yeah, Eli's a quarterback.
Ogletree signed from another team, high priced. Janoris Jenkins signed from another team, high priced.
Well, he's gone.
Nate Solder signed by another team, high priced. I know, but this is what's making up their roster right now. They have high priced free agents that they went out and signed from.
And what I mean top heavy, I wasn't referring to like dollars and salaries. I'm talking about talent.
High price free agent also.
Yeah. Like I wasn't referring. I was referring to talent more than anything. Like there's too many positions.
They either have studs and bums.
Yeah, exactly. Or substitute teachers, as you would say.
Substitute teachers.
Yeah.
And I agree with that to a degree. The only difference is Romo would have been 8-8 with these.
You're guys. Not a believer in the better defense that you can all of a sudden take them to like top 15.
Romo would have went 8-8 with these guys.
We'll see. He's got to bring up Romo again. Yeah, but Romo would go 8-8. He'd like squeak into the playoffs and win a crappy division, and then he'd
break his collarbone like 3 times during the season.
Yeah. He would, but he made him work.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I guess 2 country singers during the season. He'd do a little of everything.
He likes beautiful blondes. What can I say? All right. So
he doesn't have a bad taste in women.
The next guy on my list is Tyrone Crawford, and I actually would keep him. If you cut him, you can get up to $6.5 million back. But I would keep Tyrone Crawford. You guys, what do you guys say about Tyrone? He's like, he's not like a 10 sack kind of guy, but
he's an above average player.
He's a solid, he's a solid starter.
He's a guy that you need over a substitute teacher.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're going to bring back Lawrence, you need a change of scenery. Like that's a. I don't know. I feel like that's a bad team move. Like again, we're just going to keep calling the Patriots out. When you keep bringing back the same group and expecting different results, that's the problem.
Crawford and Lawrence are like best friends. You really want to.
Oh, okay. So now Lawrence is going to suck because his best friend ain't there.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't want to how many? Dutch, to your point, how many teams are like the Patriots? like we use them as an example, but nobody does it as good as they do because no one can evaluate talent and salary of all these players as good as they do. Like we've never seen it before. So it's tough to really say, yeah, they should just get rid of this guy and bring this other guy in and this other guy's going to work because they needed like a change of scenery. I don't think it's that easy. The way that they should go about it is re-sign Lawrence. You make a couple tweaks here and there. I don't agree with you on Tavon Austin. I don't know how you can think that Tavon Austin is a better player than Cole Beasley.
I'm not saying he's a better player. I'm saying I'd rather have him on my team.
But I'm saying
I'd rather have someone else in the slot. Honestly, I don't like Cole Beasley on my team too because Tavon Austin's not going to play much. He's going to be like a 10, 15 step kind of guy.
Who's going to be your slot receiver though?
I mean, first of all, we have guys on our team who could do it. I mean, Allen Hurst is probably going to get cut, but I mean, Allen Hurst could do it, and then Amari Cooper can play slot too.
I think Golden Tate's going to come in and do it.
He could.
That would be a great signing.
I wouldn't do that if I was Cowboys. I mean, a lot of money. He's going to probably get like at least 15.
Well, the Golden Tate wouldn't do it because he wouldn't.
Or
want
Randall
to play
Cobb.
He hates the Cowboys too.
Well, not even that. He wouldn't even want to play with Prescott. He's buns.
He also wouldn't want to play with Garrett because he's fucking weird.
That's true.
He is a weird.
It's his haircut.
You gotta.
No, it's his smile. It's his fake smile, and his like, yeah, guys, yeah.
He looks like he's on like speed or something. You go on.
No, I love it. The one thing.
Google his speeches. Go listen to one of this guy's speeches. He's a strange guy.
The thing that I love is like whenever someone makes a big play and he comes to the sideline, like you say he always like pushes the guy. He'll do the push, but the one that he loves is like when he's smiling like this and he like smacks on the back of the helmet like that.
He's like, yeah, so bud, we did it, yeah. Like I think he's got this high pitched voice when he's
a male cheerleader. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our final topic. We've been going on for a while. Last one is we're going to do our pick segment, which is something that we're going to do every episode that we have a game or games coming up the following week. In this case, it's going to be the Super Bowl. So going into the game, I checked it today. We go by DraftKings Sportsbook. Patriots are a 2.5-point favorite. So we know that 3 points is the magic number in terms of point spreads in football. So this is, I guess, a tough pick if you're looking to take the Rams because it's probably going to be at least a 3-point game, if anything, if it's close. We won't make our picks right now. We'll wait to the end, but let's approach this as breaking down the game. I picked one of my players to watch in the game, and the statistics that I took were I took Julian Edelman as a 9-catch, 120-yard, and the touchdown guy. It wouldn't surprise me if they tried to run a couple of these trick plays, whether that's a wide receiver reverse where he's throwing a ball downfield, or they do a flea flicker where he's somehow involved. He's such a reliable, dynamic, sure-handed player that I think he's going to give him problems. And I think him being in the slot.
And Roby Coleman will be covering, right?
Yeah, I mean, Roby Coleman, he got away with 2 missed calls in that Saints game that he's going to give him big problems, I think. Matchup, yeah. I do think that they might put Talib on Gronk. That could
Josh Gordon's not there, right?
Yeah, your boy. But I think Edelman's going to have a big game. The interesting thing, though, I think, is Gurley and his injury status. It's been so unknown. And C.J. Anderson.
2 more weeks, yeah.
Yeah, that's true, but it was just weird to see him just standing there and then like on the stationary bike. You didn't really know what was going on.
I was just not understanding. Because I understood almost in the Cowboy game that he didn't play as much. And they just ran for so many yards anyway. They had over 200 yards. They each had 100 yards rushing.
Yeah.
I was surprised the last game.
And it was hard to read his facial expression because to me initially, he looked like he had a facial expression like, why am I not out? Why did they not put me out there? But then, like, you saw him on the stationary bike, and you had to figure it was some sort of injury that he's dealing with that he hasn't fully recovered from. So, I don't think C.J. Anderson. Obviously, he's not anything close to Gurley. He's done a pretty good job, but for them to win this game, they need a healthy Gurley, and they need to feed the beast if they want to have a chance. They need to control the clock because I strongly feel if the Patriots get the opening kickoff, they're driving right down the field and scoring.
And you say that, but you're right. And they need to control the clock, and the Patriots can control the clock. And they're going to pound it down your throat.
Oh, yeah.
The guy I'm picking is Sony Michel. And I think he's going to have 20, 25 carries, and he's going to have over 100 yards, and I think he's going to have a touchdown or two.
You think he's going to have that many carries?
Yeah.
How many touches did he have in the championship game?
Last week he had 19 touches.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so no, that's a good pick. We were talking him up a little bit last time. He's pretty good. I love James White. I think he's such a reliable player. He'll definitely have a lot of involvement in this game. I think he has 12 touches easily.
He could definitely take over. The Patriots, you never know. I mean, I love Sonny Michel as a fantasy player, even next year. But
no, he's going to get the rock. He's
the Jesus out of me, just the fact he's on the Patriots.
Yeah.
Because I do have him, all the full disclosure, in a keepers league. Just deciding whether or not to hang out to him or
Barkley,
a much more expensive Shaquan Barkley.
I like how he always calls him Shaquan.
Saquon. I had a good team name too, Sony and Saquon. Shaquan. Sony and Shaquan.
Yep. I like that.
That's pretty good.
It's not bad. It's not like my brother's the all-time great name of when he has Joik Bell on his team. Remember him, the running back from the Lions? And his team name was Your Team's a Joik. That's my favorite
straight
one.
To the point, but
yeah,
it's good talk. Shit talk. Ooh, what was the first curse of the day?
Yeah, no, actually, you cursed before, and I noticed that you didn't notice it, but I caught it before. Yeah. Dutchman, who's your player to watch?
I'm giving two. I'm giving a bold prediction, which is ridiculous. No, it's a bold prediction. It's like just ridiculous, and then the real prediction.
Let the man talk. You had enough of your Cowboys comments and times you brought up Cowboy players and everything. Let's a
bold prediction is Aaron Donald wants to show that he is the best defensive player in the game, and he gets 2 sacks of Tom Brady, and that's the only way the freaking Rams are going to get to the promised land. That's the bold prediction. The real prediction is James White gets 9 catches, or let's say 8+ catches. 8+ catches. I'm not going to throw any yards against it. I think that's the reason I say that is because I actually don't think he's going to get that, and that's what the Patriots do. Whatever you think they're going to do, I think they're going to run the rock, or they're going to go to Julian Edelman. That's why I was giving Ray a hard time before. I'm like, yeah, that's the easiest pick ever. with Edelman getting 9 for over 100 yards. But in reality,
but I got to cut you off real quick though,
sure.
Because the last time when we did the first episode of the podcast, we were talking about. I brought it up, but I think we were all in agreement. Zeke was going to have a big game against the Rams. The Rams give the most yards per carry the whole season to any running backs, and they shut them down. So it's that league that you just can't predict. So you could think maybe the narrative is going to be one way, and the Patriots will play mind games with you. And
I think they're going to pull out of their hat what they've done the last 2 Super Bowls. James White, even though they got the other guys and they've been throwing Rex Burkhead and Devlin out there and doing stuff with them, I think James White's going to all of a sudden thrust himself and be arguably the MVP of the game, even though we all know it's going to be Tom Brady, but that's besides the point. So.
Yeah. No, well, I think to counter your point, obviously the best player on the Rams defense is Aaron Donald, and they're going to have to at least double him, or they're just going to have to avoid him getting in front of Brady's face and knocking him on his back. So the best way to do it is Brady get the ball out of his hands as soon as he can, and you know how good he is at that. He's probably he's the GOAT, obviously, of all time, but he's also the GOAT at that, getting the ball out extremely quick to either his running backs, his slot receivers, and I think that's another reason why James White will have a good game.
You just know Hogan's going to have 15 catches now that we didn't say it.
Yeah, right.
I was going to actually say Hogan, but he's just become such a non-factor.
I know. He's still going to somehow pull out 15 catches for 127, 2 touchdowns. It's just going to be how? How do they do this?
Yeah, I mean, for your sake, you should hope it happens, because then you get a lot of credibility for saying this.
So
because
but that doesn't make sense, because if you think about it, they're going to beat them with short passes. That is it's going to be that all day, because they do have a strong line and they have a strong, Keith Talib and Marcus Peters, just by namesake, you figure they've got strong coverage. You think you're going to beat them inside, and their linebacking core isn't as strong as it's been in previous years. I feel like the Rams used to always have a strong inside, and now that they're a good team, they don't. So they're going to beat them with the short stuff, in my opinion. But I'd love to see Hogan, because he's a Wyckoff native, and we live somewhat in that vicinity. So.
Yeah, but if you remember, wasn't it it was the last Super Bowl the Patriots won? Didn't he have a big game?
I think it was the game before.
Yeah.
It was the AFC Championship. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, so I mean,
stupid, 12 catches.
Yeah.
To make an argument for him, he's due, because he hasn't really done much. He hasn't been involved.
Doing 3 receptions a game. Yeah.
And you got to think that Wade Phillips, they based on especially my prediction, and you agreed with it, just they're gonna probably have a game plan where they're going to try and take away Julian Edelman because he's going to be the security blanket. He's going to be the most difficult one to cover, I think, and because Gronk's slowed down. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to just.
You got to figure, right?
I don't know if they would want to do that. I don't think Marcus Peters. I think he's an overrated player.
Really?
I'd like to see them just shadow him with Talib. Yeah.
But I like your idea, Talib on Gronk. It's not a bad idea.
I think that's what they're gonna do. Because I don't know how well I think it will be a tough matchup for Talib, like to match up with him in the slot the whole game. But I think that's probably their best option. I don't think Peters can stay with him. Peters has gotten beat.
Peters gets beat. Corners get beat. Everyone's too hard on corners, I think. Everyone's so hard on corners. Everyone wants to just
corners.
All of a sudden, he got so sentimental for the corners. I think it's
covered. No,
I think that's from
cover. It's the NFL. It's a hard league.
That's from me. So I apologize. That's like from years of Orlando Scantry bashing.
It's not true. No.
He's become so sentimental for the quarterbacks.
Everybody. I even said this to my brother all the time. He always.
They have such a tough job. We should just,
It's a tough job. Not everyone could be Byron Jones and Cheetah Bear Wuzier.
Oh my God!
I'm just kidding. I relish that reaction.
There really hasn't been any islands. I mean, think about it. That is a weird thing that in the last 2 years, you had Revis Island and you obviously had Sherman with the Seahawks. I mean, there hasn't really been. I mean, Jalen Ramsey, he just runs his mouth and says he's the best. But in reality, you haven't seen those like legit, island guys.
You're talking about straight man corners too.
Yeah.
You're talking about like Peters. I mean, Peterson is probably the best to me still.
I mean, he gets
Patrick Peterson.
Yeah, but he's man up, covering the guy by himself. I mean, these other guys.
Jalen Ramsey's good. As much as I can't stand him,
he's always in zone.
Yeah, it's true. That's similar to like the Richard Sherman situation. I couldn't stand him, like the way that he would just run his mouth all the time when he has like the two best safeties in the NFL. And he doesn't like man anybody in terms of like if the best receiver on the other team is on the other side of the field, you don't even see him. So it's, being a zone corner versus like a guy like Revis who could literally lock anybody down, man up, that it's like no comparison. But they were.
Even Patrick Peterson, there's no comparison. This guy, he's the best. He's the best thing.
Yeah, you got an argument for him. But I like how the Giants corners that they get rid of, they're actually like playing on good teams now.
Eli Apple.
And Kamara.
Yeah.
It's just the Giants are just a
I
sad
hated
situation.
Eli Apple. I just did. I don't know. I just did. Him and his mom just.
Yeah, all the things you hear like coming out of the locker room and the stories you hear about his mom just always trying to be like in the media is crazy. You could see why he was like that and why he didn't have a good reputation with his teammates. Because I think that's ultimately why they got rid of him. I think he was a kid with a decent amount of talent.
I mean, he can still play. He's a starter. He's an NFL starter. I mean, even like Mo Claiborne, everyone always wanted to kill Mo Claiborne say how bad he was. He's still an NFL starting corner. He's still one of the best 60 corners in the NFL. Still start.
Here's the conversation that happened at the Giants. Ready for this? So, end of practice. Hey, Eli Apple. I want to clarify. Eli Apple. We're gonna go to Ruth Chris for a nice dinner. I can't. My mom's picking me up. She's gonna do my laundry. Like that was literally like that's the type of relationship he had. Like his mom told him what to do, where to do it, and there was so much stuff that came out about it. And I mean, wow. Come on, they're professional players making millions of dollars, and his mom's running his mouth to these like. Unnamed, I don't even know what to call them, newspapers, like not credible newspapers, just so she can get her name somewhere. And after the first year where he was like, named the problem, like he should have brought in a PR guy, his agent should have been the smart one because clearly him and his mom are morons. Sorry, I'm going on. I'll stop. The point is, it's just ridiculous. And it was also an awful pick. Let's go back to that. I remember Anthony when I was talking to him. He was like 23rd, and we picked him like 11 or 14 or something.
We did the same thing with Flowers, and then also Mukamara was another. He was another first round pick. I actually thought Mukamara was going to be a really good player.
He's not that bad though either. He's still starting for the Bears.
No, he's on a good defense. He's playing. He's got some help around him. I thought he was going to be better than he was though. He was one guy. Flowers was a guy that I didn't know what to think. All I thought about was just the fact that our offensive line needed a left tackle badly, and of course they reached.
Should have got Laramie Tunsil instead.
Yeah, well, that whole gas mask thing.
Yeah, the gas mask
scared him away.
Signed Whitworth.
Yeah,
He wanted to be a Giant. Did you see that? That he just came out and said he wanted to be the Giants. They wanted nothing to do with him. It was just an article 2 days ago. And he said, I wanted to come. My wife wanted to be there.
Should have listened to me.
They wouldn't. Yeah, that's what you predicted.
You were saying that. Yeah. We were talking about that before we started the podcast. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's been a stud. They would have been a different team. Yeah. Just with him alone, he makes that much of a difference maker. With how bad Flowers.
What would have been the difference in the team? So they draft him. They sign him. Who would have they not signed? Because remember that was two years ago, Ant?
They would have him still. They
wouldn't have sold
last year of his contract.
No, what I'm saying, who would have they not gotten 2 years ago?
Sold him. They wouldn't have sold him.
No. That's last year. But I'm saying you were looking at him 2 years ago. So who would have they not gotten? Is Damon Harrison here?
I think the way to answer that question is that who do we still have on the team, or who was on the team that was that good that
nobody. I agree.
You can't look at it that either because the cap is very fluid. You could move money from year to year by re-upping people's contract, giving them the signing bonus up front, and kind of splitting them up. So you could kind of manipulate that. So there's not necessarily a guy that wouldn't be on the team. The guy that wouldn't be on the team is probably Nate Solder.
No, you know what I'm saying? Like think about it. When the Giants went out inside Damon Harrison and Janoris Jenkins, and there was a third guy, and I'm blanking on who that third guy was.
But I'm saying
when they did that,
they could have just also signed him, and
they would have been out of money though.
But I'm saying you can move money around. So then the fact that they had the very following year, they had enough money to sign Nate Solder to an even bigger contract because he even got a bigger contract than Whitworth got. Whitworth only got 3 years, $36 million. It was only like.
It was just because he was older.
Yeah,
that was why.
37
but
years older,
the fact that they just had no interest in him is maddening.
Well, they wouldn't even talk to him.
Well, what we were talking about earlier was just like.
Them and they didn't get him.
Well, it was Jerry Reese just not wanting to
give up on Flowers.
Yeah, he didn't want to just. That's sickening. I can't even I hate talking about this because they make me sick. It's getting to be almost like going to the trend of the Knicks. Because you look at the New York sports teams right now, they're all pretty bad. I mean, the Yankees are good. The Islanders are good right now, but they're out Long Island, so who really cares about them? But the rest of the teams, it's just they make a bad managerial decision.
Buffalo's coming.
You know who's not bad? Buffalo. Actually, the Brooklyn Nets.
The Brooklyn Nets, yeah. I mean, but they'll fall back off. They went on a run, but I don't really think that they have enough talent to be that good. Russell is good. Yeah, he's a good player. Yeah, they got him for nothing because he snitched on Swaggy P. What did you say?
Next week on Nets Talk.
Nets Talk. Yeah, we've strayed a little bit, and we've been going on. I don't know how long we've been going for. It's a lot.
Let's just do these picks and let's get out of here.
Yeah, all right. So final pick. Tony, I'll let you start, then Dutch, and then I'll go last.
Honestly, flip a coin. I really don't. How am I supposed to pick this game? I have no idea.
I think it's a pretty easy pick.
I'm gonna go with the Patriots to win by more than just by a field goal. They're gonna just cover the spread by half a point. That's my guess because that's all it is. Is just a guess.
Patriots by 11.
11. Wow, that's bold.
Yeah, I mean,
I would like to remind you that I did beat both of you 2 weeks ago in all of my picks, and you bashed my picks the entire time I gave them. So yeah, bash that one too.
But you know what? Everyone in the world picked with us. So
yeah,
spreads.
I don't feel that bad.
Spreads. I don't think. What was my money line?
I tied you. We both had the same spread outcome.
He won extra money on the game. So
no, sorry, I beat everybody in spreads because I was 3-1. You guys were 2-2 and 1-3. With picking just the winners, me and Ray I think had the same outcome, and Anthony was one off.
That was terrible.
Well, you screwed yourself with the Cowboy pick.
I actually picked the Rams in the beginning of the podcast, too. You love a Cowboy fan.
He's I'm on the record for the first time ever making picks. He's I got to take my team.
He's spread and winner.
Yeah, right? I'm biased.
Yeah, this is from the guy who told me I was crazy for saying the Giants were going to win 6 games. I was a homer. I was biased then, right?
That wasn't what I said.
That's exactly what you said.
No, it was the Cowboys finishing above the Giants.
No, but you got mad at
Have this argument afterwards.
All right, we're gonna close shop now.
Well, you have to give your pick.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I wrote it down already, but I didn't even get a chance to get it out. I'm going the same route. I'm going Pats, cover the spread, and win the game. I think.
No, you got to pick a score. Come on, we did.
We got to pick a score.
Well,
you
you
guys
said
pick
by
a score
3.
or just by the amount?
No, just by amount.
I'll take the Pats by 7.
Okay. Right in the middle.
Pats by 3, Pats by 7, Pats by 11. All right, guys.
All right.
That was fun, regardless of how shitty it is. And
Whoa. You had to drop a third one in there?
Here he goes. Yeah, he had to get one more in. And next he's going to get another comment on the Cowboys in. But before he does, I'm going to close down, shut it down for the night. This was episode 2 of the Second and 9 podcast. We'll see you guys next time. We'll get together again after the Super Bowl. We'll probably talk a little bit draft at some point down the road. And thanks for hanging out. See you next time.